In the upcoming November 5th election, Somerville takes to the polls in what has become a very contentious race for aldermen. Given that, what we found was surprising indeed.
So on November 5th, we've got a lot of alderman seats that are up for grabs. I'm not sure if you knew about that.
I knew something of it. I just haven't really been getting myself up to date on what's, who's running.
And what do you think about the Board of Aldermen? Do you think it's an important body? Do you think people should pay attention to it, or do you think they have any power?
I think it's hard for people to pay attention to these local elections. In fact, I think I probably should have turned you down to be interviewed because, I was a local elected official. So I'm going to say yes, of course they really matter. The aldermen have oversight over the spending, and that's very, very important where you spend the money. They have oversight over all these issues that actually are very important to people.
D'après vous, ça que fait mon voter aux États-Unis, ça que fait l'important?
Eh bien, l'important pour quelques bagages pour changer, ça fait on vote aux États-Unis. Yeah.
Are you planning on voting, Dana?
I'm not entirely sure yet. I wasn't aware that an election was happening. So I'm going to do some research and figure out who's best to represent my ward.
They have power. Sometimes it's hard to see it, and certainly, I've gone out calling for officials, and people have no idea there's an election. They think Obama's running again. They're like, what? So yeah, they're important, but do people know about them? Not always.
Moi, Tahiti, je suis entré là près de 1 mois. Beaucoup pièces.
OK. Mais avant 5 novembre, qui ça au pral fait? Au pral checker ça?
Oui, avant 5 novembre. Je vais checker ça parce que pour les démocrates, là, je vais voter moi-même.
OK.
I'm a registered voter.
So are you going to vote on November 5th?
Well, absolutely.
Representative Provost, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate your taking the time. As you know, we have elections coming up soon. We've got 11 alderman seats that are opening up, or people are up for re-election. And I was talking to some folks around the city, and I had the idea to invite you down to the studio to talk to us a little bit about these races and about the Board of Aldermen. I think that you actually served on the board before you were a state rep.
I did for almost 7 years.
And were you represented a specific ward?
I ran twice in my ward, 5, but I was elected to an at-large seat, and I served at-large.
And you were elected, I think you were re-elected 3 times, which
Yes.
is no small feat. Well, actually, it's about the elections. I was up at City Hall, and I got some statistics from the elections office there, and I got a little bit concerned. The turnout for these kinds of elections is quite low. It's 20 to 30%, and I was wondering, well, does that mean the Board of Aldermen isn't important, and why is the turnout so low? What kind of perspective could you share?
I think it's a paradox that people are more likely to vote for seats of government at levels that affect them least. Last year when there was a presidential election, people lined up around the block. Fewer people than that will vote in state elections, but a lot more than city elections. For city elections, not that many people seem to take an interest, which is shocking when you think about the fact that that is the government that's closest to you and has the most effect on your daily life.
Well, that's what I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about, since now you're serving at the state level, but you've worked and lived in and around the city for years, and you were on the board. What exactly does the board do, and what power does it have? Because maybe folks that are watching the program think, oh, it's just a couple of people who meet up at City Hall once in a while to talk about whether or not there should be a concert in Union Square. I mean, what power does the board have?
The board's the legislative branch of city government. It would be called a city council in most cities. And it is the body of government that balances the power of the mayor. The Board of Aldermen approves the budget, sets the tax rate, makes local laws called ordinances, including zoning, which is a big deal. It's the licensing authority for some kinds of license, and has a lot of a lot of sort of soft power, advocacy and constituent services, and the ability to influence the course of what happens in the city.
Wow, so I didn't realize that at all. I hope that the people that are watching this program, if they're not registered, can they still go and register, or is it too late?
I think it may be too late, too close to the election now, but you know, there will be state elections, including a governor's race next year, so people shouldn't hesitate to sign up because there's always something to vote for.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming down to the station today.
It's a pleasure, Jane. Thanks for having me.